Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. Another Flyleaf Talks about stuff in a new year, 2024.
Welcome to the first Flyleaf Talks about stuff
of the year. Stephanie, Allie, Kim, Allie, Stephanie. In like 3 weeks.
So I missed you.
We not missed you. I missed you.
So we have fun. We do. Well, it's very fascinating. So not everybody that watches this is in North Carolina. So this is going to be kind of fascinating trend to keep an eye on. But I think we are the third state. Is that what it is? To pass this law.
I thought there was more.
I know Louisiana has that, and I can't remember the other one, but we're really new on this. So in the state of North Carolina, there were a bunch of new laws passed. And one of them is that if you are a porn website, or what do they say? If you are a website that displays
purveyor
of hurtful or harmful images
Right.
to adolescents or to children, something the way they worded it, then you have to have some sort of age verification system for someone to access that. And that system, we'll talk about in a second of what that entails, but you either have to do that, or some of them, like Pornhub is one, and there's a couple other, I think Your Tango is another one, that have opted out of even being available in this state because they don't want to deal with an age verification system.
Right. Because if I read the article correctly, Kim read the bill in the article, I read the article. I think the porn industry, Pornhub, I think it was Pornhub mentioned, specifically stated that they're all for protecting youngins. However, they think that there are other means to protect others by, and that the responsibility really lies on the parent.
Right. Or the device itself. That the device itself should have some sort of age verification that they, as a software or like a web-based thing, doesn't have to do.
Right. And they said that and I think it was in that disclaimer. So if you go to Pornhub, I mean, I actually spent this morning kind of clicking on a bunch of porn sites just to see what I would find. My husband was like, great, nice history, you know, things you have to. But what it has is this big, long disclaimer, and it says that they believe that there are software that you can put on your phone. There are other ways that you can monitor that thing for adolescents, but that it would cost them 67 cents per verification.
Oh, wow.
It would cost the website. So Pornhub would have to pay 67 cents for each verification. And with the traffic that they get, I can imagine it would be in the millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just one site. So go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in addition to that cost, I did agree with Pornhub in one area where they said having people's information floating out there on the internet is unhealthy. It's like we're trying, like I get the whole safety thing. It's just as unsafe to have people's private information out there.
Right. Yeah. And they say that there are certain platforms that you can use, like our records platforms and different platforms that provide that safety.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't store the information, and we all kind of roll our eyes around that kind of thing. But this sort of software and this verification has been around for a few years now.
Yeah.
Since I think 2020 was when what I was looking at. But if you order alcohol online, you have to do that. If you do banking online, if you want to buy cryptocurrency, you have to do that. So there's other sites that use that in order to verify that you are who you say you are. One of them that I looked at said that you would have to upload a photo of your ID, whether it's your license, your passport, whatever it is. And then they have an AI scan of your picture, and then you do a selfie and send it, and then it scans your selfie to see if it fits the picture on the ID, and then it would give you that verification. So it can be very invasive.
Sure.
Right.
And I know that in Louisiana, because that's where I'm from, and so I have friends who, asked them to research this there for me, and it did involve their driver's license.
Yes.
But, I'm thinking from like the recovery, having all of those barriers in place might be the opportunity that, do I really want to do this right now? Do I really want to go get my driver's license? And do I really want to take a picture of it? Do I really want to take a selfie? And do I really want to act out? I love the idea of all these different barriers to it as just like preventative measures from even adults accessing porn. Right? Maybe shouldn't, but I wouldn't want my picture of my driver's license floating around.
I agree. And I also think that it's kind of a cop-out on the porn industry, or at least with porn, in this article that I read, response, where it's like, Louisiana, this has been for like at least the last few years.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
I mean, if you were really wanting like people to be able to view or keep kids safe or all of this other stuff, wouldn't that be a call to action or increase your agency to be like, hey, we agree and let's do something about it starting back
Right.
here versus
Right. Or to say that this has happened here, how can we make it safer in other states so that this kind of thing doesn't affect us, right?
Well, I mean, their argument to that was like, yes, because in what happened in Louisiana, we have this like data now. 80% of traffic to Pornhub dropped down, but their report was that people are still accessing porn, they're just doing it in more devious ways, and that is an ick too. Like,
oh, sure.
Porn is icky, so like, or it can be, you know, if it's not consenting adults who are being paid fairly and compensated and all those things. Like, if you're ending up on the dark web or if you're ending up in these other places, I mean, that might be more damaging, arguably.
Well, anything that's done in secrecy, shame is so bad.
Well, part of this House Bill 8, there were a lot of things in it, which it's actually a very fascinating bill. It's one of those things where it has these things that seemingly are unrelated that get kind of rolled up. So if you vote against something or you vote against it, then you're voting against something. It's one of those kind of bills, right? But one of the tenets of it is that these sites that do provide this information and put this out there that they believe, I think they did use the words obscene information out there, are opened up to lawsuits. So if they don't comply with the age verification, if they're still putting it out there, parents of children that are underage can sue the website if their children are looking at it. So it opens it up to that too. So if you're non-compliant, if you're a site that's non-compliant, you're opened up to whatever kind of lawsuit comes your way from either the state or for anybody. Anybody can sue them.
It would be like a civil charge, like they were going for money versus a criminal charge.
I don't know. I imagine that if it's a law, it would be some sort of criminal charge at some point in there from the state who made the law.
Right.
But if it's an individual, I wonder if there isn't some kind of civil suit. But the whole purpose is that not just is this a rule or a regulation, but they made it into a law and specifically said there can be some retaliation if they don't comply with it.
I wonder if the same thing would be applicable, the same stance would be applicable to like social media. It could, you know, if it hasn't happened already, is it in the works and would it stand?
I will tell you this, that my husband recently created a Twitter account for my daughter who is trying to play softball. And that's how they recruit everything is Twitter. And created an account, and he had to put a picture ID and his face on it in order to create that account. So because he didn't have one. He had to do it for him to create an account. So I think that some social media platforms, I mean, I was talking to him this morning about this one, and he was telling me that when he created his Twitter account, he had to do that. So I think it's pretty interesting that it is happening with social media. So this idea of, are you over 18, click here, is not really applicable. And I think and with selling alcohol online, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
And it isn't just that somebody of age has to be at the door to greet you. It's that you're not even allowed to order it. Or even some sites, you can't even go into the site unless you're verified. So there's a lot of, and I imagine we aren't legal for weed here, but I imagine that that's the kind of thing too, because you can buy that online. In other states, you can order it. You can have people deliver it to you in Nevada. They'll bring it to your door. So I'm sure that there's some sort of a verification process there too.
But, you know, Pornhub stands up, I'm going to take my ball and go home. Just do dealings in North Carolina, like that sucks too. Like, just Stephanie's credit. Like, if it's a problem and you agree it's a problem, help be part of the solution rather than just like pouting.
Yeah. And I don't know ever. And I could be wrong. So if you're out there in the porn industry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that
somebody who knows more about
I don't know that I can recall a time where there was something that was brought to the attention of the industry, or there was something that they created a solution. It's kind of like acknowledging in a Band-Aid and then moving on. I've heard that happen. But when you hear about human trafficking and you hear about underage and you hear about things that you get a lot of lip service about what the best practices, but then in reality are those things happening.
And I'm sure that there are some people like within the porn industry putting women in positions of empowering. They're like the directors and there's lots of consent, and that there is positive change happening in that industry. You know, like, if we're going to use it, let's use it responsibly. Same with alcohol, same with marijuana, same with anything, right? This is just a probably the start of a series of very long conversations that are going to happen. And and it's election year, and like this is just very layered.
Well, and we work with kids under 18 who are porn addicts, and we know what happens with any addict when you take their drug of choice away from them and you just cut them off. So I imagine that parents out there, if you don't know if your kid's addicted to porn, and he is or she is, you may be finding out very soon that there's a problem.
Right.
We spoke in a college that blocked porn, and they asked us to come in and talk to the student body about porn and the impact of porn, that kind of thing, because the college felt like they didn't want their servers to have access to it, and the students went crazy.
Right.
Like they were in an upheaval and they were sending things to the chancellor. I want my porn, and I think that, when we have that powerful of a reaction, when we have that powerful of a reaction to something being taken away from us, that's the biggest indicator of a problem.
Well, and so if, whatever rolls downhill, and we're talking the whole social media things for like a decade, if not more, has talked about, like there needs to be guidelines, posts and regulation and all of the kind of stuff to protect kids. And now you have the data typically that supports how it impacts individuals and kids specifically. And
well, and it doesn't talk, the bill doesn't specifically call out porn. It just says obscene material, or dissemination, distribution that
disseminate.
Yeah, dissemination of material, whether for sale, for trade, or to view. So I wonder if some of these what is it?
Hearsay, like a Reddit?
Reddit and then OnlyFans. That's it. Thank you. OnlyFans or anything like that are going to be impacted too.
Softcore.
Yeah.
And home use pornography is
something
that's taken out like the industry, right?
Yeah.
So
I wonder, we have this focus on these big platforms, but I wonder how it's going to impact some of these other places. Yeah. Or even, for that matter, just Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter,
or Snapchat.
Those
platforms send nude selfies to each other. Is there going to be some kind of AI that's monitoring, for like Covenanized does? It looks at the screen, it can determine whether or not it's sexual imagery or not.
Speaking of AI, I read a headline a few days ago that talked about the first case where a girl's image was uploaded and for AI, and she was virtually gang raped. And so it's
horrible.
Yeah. And so they're taught, and I don't remember, I didn't click on the article. I mean, I did, but I didn't like study it. But it was like trying to pursue like who downloaded and like
that's horrible.
Alter the image.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
So, I mean, that's a whole other thing that we're going to have to.
Well, and they're talking about now, I mean, if y'all aren't aware of this, you need to be. There are celebrities that they're AI in the movies, and the celebrities aren't going to get paid,
right?
Because they're just using their images.
Movies?
Yeah, they don't actually have to be in the movie. They're using their AI in movies.
I know they've done that with people who passed away, like filming, but I just assume that their state got paid. That's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just really, it's really, you can't believe anything you see. So if somebody on the news says so-and-so was over here doing this nefarious thing and shows you a picture of it, that doesn't mean that that's what they were doing.
Right. We got to go.
You're ready? We have fun.
We're good.
All right, guys.
Back to 2024, Flyleaf Talks about stuff, episode 1. We should do that. Like, keep track. So, thank you for joining us, spending some time with us. We hope you're having a wonderful day, or you continue to have one. We are in Davidson, North Carolina. You can find us here in our office. Licensed practice in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Hawaii, and Pennsylvania, and soon some more states. So I'll tell you all about that off camera. And online, www.flyleafcounseling.com. Instagram, Flyleaf_counseling. Facebook is Flyleaf Counseling.
So we will see you next week. Do your research. Not sure you're safe. Bye.